I want to show you how to make my perfect risotto. This is my favourite pan. It's got high sides so I can get lots of ingredients into the pan, and I like it because it's got a see-through lid. So as I'm cooking my shallots, I can see exactly what they do. Before you start to make any risotto, risotto making is about you and all of the ingredients continuously working together and evolving the flavours of the ingredients that you put into the pan. So to begin, just to check the pan is on the right temperature. You can touch the pan, it's just nice and warm. The reason for the pan being warm and not hot is that I don't want to burn my shallots and my garlic. Always remember with risotto that all of the ingredients that you put into the pan is what you're going to serve. You can't take any of them out. So good olive oil. I like plenty of olive oil in my risotto, and as you'll see, sometimes you look at it and think, oh, that's a lot. It's not. It will incorporate itself into the risotto as you start to cook all the ingredients. And into that, I'm going to put my shallots and some chopped garlic. Okay, now you can start to just bring the temperature up, just gently, not too much. Pinch of salt. And always when you're cooking, all the different stages, especially with the risotto, is about evolving the flavour as you start to cook. So we've got the shallots just gently sweating down in the olive oil. You can see there's lots of olive oil, but I've got this metal spoon, and I'm using this because in this particular pan, the metal spoon works just fine. Normally with any non-stick pan it has to be a wooden spoon, but because of the metal rings that are in the pan, they're slightly raised, which prevents me from scratching the pan. Great design. You can start to see the shallots and the garlic gently cooking away there. We can then put on the lid, which then allows the steam and the heat in the pan to just gently sweat away. And what you're doing is you're bringing out those lovely natural sweet flavours of the shallot and the garlic, and that's starting the cooking process just nicely. What I love about it is, and the key to this is that the lid being glass allows you to see the shallots as they're cooking. And as you can see, they start to go a little bit translucent. That is now ready for my rice. Now you put your rice in. Start to cook that out. You want to cook the rice so it becomes translucent, so you can see through it a little bit. So it's really important at this stage you keep the rice moving in the pan. I've just turned it up to number 7, so now I really want to get a little bit more heat into the pan. And at this point you can't walk away from this. You need to continue the rice moving. You need to make sure that you're stirring it. All those rice grains are getting cooked all the way through. Just a little pinch of salt. Deglazing a pan is about putting the white wine around the outside of the pan so that the wine goes underneath the rice, cleans the pan, and just beautifully cooks itself out. The white wine is that lovely underlying flavour of sweetness that you bring to the dish. And to know that you've got an even distribution of heat, you can see the bubbles are right across that rice. There's no cold area, you've got a perfect even distribution of heat, which is what this Circulon pan is all about. As your wine starts to evaporate, just gently fold everything in, make sure it's all mixed in. What you're doing with the wine is you're removing the alcohol and retaining that fabulous flavour. So we have our stock over here, which is just gently simmering away. You've got to let the rice cook out, you've got to let it evaporate. You know when it's evaporated because all the rice starts to stick together. So what you're doing is now you're starting to cook out the starch in the rice, and you see that lovely thickness coming through. And you know when it's evaporated is when you pull the rice to one side and you run your spoon through it, the rice stays where it is. Okay, the white wine is now evaporated. Now you can start adding your stock. So just one ladle at a time. What you don't want to do when you're adding stock is you don't want to add cold stock. So get your stock nice and hot so that when you're adding it into the rice, the cooking process continues exactly the same temperature. If you just poured all the stock into the rice, what you're doing is you're basically just boiling the rice. And what you're not doing is getting the flavour reducing inside. And from time to time, just taste. And what you're looking for are the flavours that are starting to develop. The shallots, the garlic, the rice, the wine, and now the stock itself. You can feel also the crunch in the rice, which is really important because that's when you need to find that lovely soft, light bite texture that you're looking for before you can start to add all of the other ingredients. And what we're finding at the moment is that we're getting a lovely intensity of the stock, which sort of underlines the flavour of the rice itself, which is lovely, and that's why we just add ladle by ladle and let it reduce. We're starting to also get that little softness coming into the rice grain, which is what we're looking for. That tells me that we're about 5 minutes away from completion. As then allows me to be able to add all of the other ingredients. And that's when you start to feel if the dish really comes together, the richness comes into this dish. So that's my cheese. Parmesan is a salty cheese, so always bear that in mind when you're using it. And as you can see, it also starts, as it starts to melt, it also starts to thicken at the same time. Some mascarpone. Mascarpone is always an optional ingredient, but I love the creaminess that it brings to a risotto. Now that looks a little bit wet at the moment, but do bear in mind that it's going to continue cooking. The rice is not fully complete yet. More seasoning. Now the richness of the ingredients are all starting to work together in harmony. Don't boil it too much, you have to be very careful that you don't split the cheese when you start boiling, so just bring the heat down a touch and just let it gently cook away. Now I can start to monte my butter into it. Key is adding cold butter, and you'll start to see the dish just get a little bit more, I could say, richer in flavour. Quantity of butter, well, that's down to you. Depends how rich you like your risotto. For me, I'm going to put all of it in. We're almost there. Just gently work that butter into the rice. The consistency of a risotto is how you want to enjoy it. For me, I like it to be really runny so that as it starts to cool, it continues its cooking process and just gets that little bit thicker and thicker. Time for my herbs. Finish it with some chopped parsley. What I love about making a risotto is that I get to spend 20 minutes with my pan and my risotto. And always with your risotto, serve it on a flat plate. You never serve risotto in a bowl. So there we go, so just ladle it out. Just pick up your risotto. And there you have it. Delicious risotto.